Hello, my name is Charlie Wood and I'm a solicitor in the Employment and HR group at SAS Daniels. In this short video, I'm going to take you through some of the key things you need to know about the Coronavirus Job Retention Scheme, otherwise known as the Furlough Scheme. First of all, who is eligible for the Furlough Scheme? Well, all UK businesses are eligible, as are all employees, subject to hitting that qualifying criteria. Now, for employees, what they have to be is they have to be employed on or before the 19th of March. Now, this is very important because previous guidance set out that they had to be employed on or before the 28th of February, so that date has now been pushed back. However, also bear in mind that for an employee to qualify, their RTI form must also have been submitted to the HMRC, i.e. they're fully on the payroll. Without this, even though they may technically have been employed as at the 19th of March, they may not technically be eligible for the scheme. So what are some of the key points of the scheme? Well, first of all, you've got to get an employee to agree to be placed on furlough. This is because technically furlough is a variation to their terms and conditions. They're agreeing to take that cut in pay and also agree that you will not provide them with any work during that furlough period. Now, there's been various guidance released and a lot of it is conflicting with itself, but essentially that agreement should be in writing. Some of the most recent guidance has suggested that you have to get writing back from the employee to confirm their acceptance. However, the guidance the HMRC should be following when looking at who is actually eligible for the scheme doesn't actually stipulate this as a strict requirement. Therefore, as long as you've got something in writing that shows the employee has agreed to be furloughed, that should suffice in these circumstances. Also, it is important that employees are furloughed for no less than 21 calendar days. You could have someone furloughed for that length of time or longer, but you could not have them furloughed for shorter, otherwise you will not be eligible to claim back their pay under the scheme. For example, you may look to rota employees, meaning that you have someone furloughed for 3 weeks, bring them back in and then furlough another member of staff for another 3 weeks. That way you could spread the burden amongst your staff, but ensuring that everyone who's furloughed still maintains that minimum furlough period of 3 weeks. Also, it's important to note that employees cannot work for you while on furlough. There are some exceptions to that in terms of they can carry out training, as long as that training doesn't lead to any financial or direct benefit to the company. But other than that, they should be doing no work whatsoever. Now, that is not to say they could not work for another employer. That is because furlough applies separately and equally to every single employer an employee may have. So, for example, if an employee has 2 jobs, they can be furloughed by both different employers, and the cap of 80% or £2,500 would apply equally to both employers as well. Now, even though you are subject to that cap of £2,500 or 80%, whichever is the lowest sum, you can choose to top up the employee's salary so they still receive 100% of their salary as normal. However, there is no obligation on you to do this. Employers are also advised to keep records in relation to employees they furloughed for at least 5 years afterwards. So a common question we keep getting asked is, how do you pick who you need to put on furlough? Well, essentially, it comes down to what your business needs are at the time. If you can keep them in the business and you have work to do, and it's safe for them to be in work, and you can maintain social distancing as best you can, then there's no reason why they should not be in work. However, if there is a downturn in work, then ultimately what you have to look at is what employees are key to keep the business running, if any. So, for example, employers may choose to furlough specific departments that may not have as much work coming in at the moment, or they may decide to furlough specific employees who are slightly quieter on work. Now, say you've made your selection for furlough and the employee doesn't agree. Well, ultimately, the guidance says that they have to agree to being furloughed, otherwise it could be seen as a unilateral change to the terms and conditions. However, if you've got properly drafted contracts, you should also have something known as a layoff clause. Now, if you do, and you have the contractual right to lay an employee off, which would be basically send them home without work or pay, subject to a small payment of something called guarantee pay, then the alternative is they either agree to furlough on 80% of their wages, or unfortunately, because the business can't sustain them in at that time, they get laid off on effectively 0 pay. Now, most importantly, how do you apply for this scheme? Well, somewhere around this video, there should be the link to the government portal. And basically what you do is go on there and you submit your application online, bearing in mind that the employees you apply for must have hit that qualifying criteria. Now, you're probably going to have to bear with that system for a while because they're going to be inundated with claims from employers all over the country. So it may take you a while to get through, but it is worth persevering because ultimately it's going to be a great benefit to your company and also to the employees in it. Now, that was probably a bit of a whistle-stop tour on some of the main questions and a bit more of a general discussion about furlough. But if there is anything else that this video hasn't covered or you have further questions, then as I said before, get in contact using the details that should be somewhere around this video. Now, hopefully we will try and get more content out like this in the future. And then if you have anything in particular you want us to cover, get in contact, let us know, and we'll try and tailor any future videos to the areas you want us to look at. Thank you.